I put on the front that I didn't care,
Yeah, there you
but
go.
actually did.
Okay.
But the survival mode and the protection level safetyness of it was like you had to show you didn't care. It'd be like it would be like being in the New York subway and not making eye contact with other people.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, seriously,
No, I know, man.
like if you don't want trouble, you don't look for trouble.
Yeah.
And you just keep your head down, do your thing. Man, I rode the bus for like what 10 years out of the whole high school experience or the whole schooling experience.
Yep.
I learned you put headphones on, you keep your head down or look out the window.
Bro, that was like entering the UFC cage, man.
It was. It was. Man, I remember, so I was in 1st or 2nd grade, and some 3rd or 4th grader on there had a switchblade knife. And he's like doing his thing with it, and I'm like, dear God, I don't want to die today. But yeah. And I've got buddies that, you know, the stories from the bus would have led to felony charges from some of the things that I've been told. So
I believe some of what they do is good. Like, it's important to care about what's going on out there socially. I could probably do with caring a little bit more about that. But then on the other end, some of the things that Generation X find important or focus on, they could probably benefit from a little bit of that.
yeah.
So,
Well, and I think that kind of points to what we want to talk about is, dude, we all have our problems. We all have our hangups. We all have our issues. Stop picking on everybody and fix your own crap. All right, today we're going to unpack this generational war just a little bit further, and we've got 2 perspectives this time instead of just mine, which I love because when it's always better when Bruce is here. So buckle up. You're on the Bearded and Blessed podcast.
Welcome to the Bearded and Blessed podcast. Honest, everyday conversations anchored in faith.
Alrighty, guys. Welcome to episode 22 of the Bearded and Blessed podcast. Man, it's been a long journey. So today we're going to jump right into some generational war stuff. We talked a little bit about this last week. I need Bruce to be in here to talk about this much deeper and better. 2 Gen X parents, man. We can get into this. So I guess before we start, we're going to have fun with this. Neither one of us, I think you would agree with me, neither one of us are like I don't hate anybody.
No.
Like,
well, I got a few, but you know, not generationally
not
wise.
generationally wise. I don't understand the whole infighting between all these generations.
I know. And it's a real thing.
It
like,
is.
Seriously, they all got something to say about each other.
Well,
except for us.
And then, but apparently they are now. Like, they're starting to have beef with us.
Careful.
Well, and that's what this first video is going to show, and it's really funny, man. Bear with us and know we're having fun.
We're having a blast.
And that's probably what pisses people off, because what Gen X considers fun is probably degrading to somebody else.
It is.
All right, here we go.
I think we can all agree that if we're generalizing, Gen X is the worst generation.
Okay, if this is happening, if Gen Z is picking a fight with Gen X in the same way that millennials picked fights with boomers, you need to be prepared. Just to give my credentials, I am a cusp millennial, right? I'm one of the first ones, right? Meaning I have a lot of exposure to Gen X. My older brother is Gen X. He is firmly Gen X. And he is fair. The stereotype of Gen X, obviously, is that they don't care. They do not care, right? And I think on the surface level, you think, okay, well, that's going to be easy. Then, no, there was almost no visual record of Gen X when they were younger. Meaning they could do whatever they wanted and not have to worry ever about a video resurfacing as they got older. You combine that with the fact that most of their parents are older boomers who gave them very little parental supervision, and that is a dangerous combination, my friends. A direct result of that is that the Gen X that you're seeing today are the ones that survived. They fear nothing. Millennials, like we were the first ones that had these programs in schools in place telling us that all the dangerous things we saw our older siblings doing were bad. As a result, many of the weak ones of us lived on. I'm a direct proof of that. So all I'm saying is just be careful. They're going to act like they don't care. But so do serial killers. And to any Gen X seeing this, know that I am saying this out of deep respect and also deep fear. Please do not come after me. I'm very sensitive.
So, what I think I appreciate most about that guy is the self-deprecating humor. Because, man, I feel like that's who we were.
Oh, it takes a big man to be honest like that.
I know, right? And just make fun of yourself and like,
you know, one of the things is this: we're not saying that, you know, we're the baddest on the planet. That's not what that is about. When it, you know, people talk about, you know, Gen X and
yeah,
don't poke the bear and this and that. It's a lot of what he said is really true, though. You know, no, I don't have any family. I don't have any family pictures when I was a kid. I don't have any pictures as a kid. I think I have one, and that's it.
wow.
I have no no record of the things that I've done or the things that have happened from the past.
I wonder sometimes though if it's more about who your parents were, like personality wise and stuff. Because my dad was a techie nut.
Okay.
He always had the camera out. He always had like the big, like remember the back in the day with the big lights.
Yeah.
Like the first 2 or 3 Christmases, that thing was out, and it would take 30 minutes for him to put it together while we're waiting to see what Santa brought.
Yeah.
And like just chomping at the bit, ready to run in the room, and he's like, "Nope, got to get the thing going. Got to make the coffee. Got to get the cream. Got to blah blah blah." And it's like, dude, we don't care.
Yeah.
and honestly, those videos are sitting in a closet somewhere, and nobody watches them. So
yeah,
I don't know, but I wonder sometimes, does that personality thing?
Oh, I think
come
so
into play,
for
you
sure.
know?
You know, I don't think that. You know, as we talk about the generational thing, I don't think all Gen Xers are the same.
No.
I don't think all millennials and Gen Z and the new one is Alpha and whatever came in between, if and the boomer, like I don't think that all of them can be clumped together
No.
as being the same. They're similar in certain things, generationally wise, as with what they grew up with.
Well, they experienced the same things.
Experienced this, yeah, that's a good way to put it, man.
At least culturally and societally, not in the households.
No.
Every household was different.
Because you got some soft Gen Xers,
Yeah,
you know, and,
sure.
then you got some that are just how that guy talked about.
I would consider myself a mid-level Gen Xer compared to what some of the other folks in my generation did.
You know, and I think what he said about with the Gen X is, you know, that they just don't care. And I think a lot of for me, I kind of look at it, and I think a lot of my frustration is that I don't. But I'm stuck in a place in my life where I have to.
You know, that's a good point. I think, from my personal perspective, I put on the front that I didn't care.
Yeah, there you
but
go.
actually did.
Okay.
But the survival mode and the protection level safetyness of it was like you had to show you didn't care. It would be like being in the New York subway and not making eye contact with other people.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, seriously. Like,
no, I know, man.
Like if you don't want trouble, you don't look for trouble.
Yeah.
And you just keep your head down, do your thing. Man, I rode the bus for like what, 10 years out of the whole high school experience or the whole schooling experience.
Yep.
I learned you put headphones on, you keep your head down, or look out the window.
Bro, that was like entering the UFC cage, man.
It was. It was. Man, I remember, so I was in 1st or 2nd grade, and some 3rd or 4th grader on there had a switchblade knife. And he's like doing his thing with it, and I'm like, dear God, I don't want to die today. But yeah. And I've got buddies that, you know, the stories from the bus would have led to felony charges from some of the things that I've been told. So this whole generational thing is
I think everybody sees their generation as, you know, Yo, we're the ones, man.
They do.
You
And on a certain level, they're right because
Yeah.
of what they went through. And I think that's really kind of where this gets misleading and goes awry is like
Yeah.
everybody seems to think that, you know, they have it worse or they have it better or whatever. And it's like, no, it's just different.
Yeah, absolutely. And I was just thinking, like, we all kind of measure ourselves up, and I measure my strengths against what I think your strength should be. And when you don't have it, I see you as weak,
Yeah.
and I see as something wrong with your generation, rather than taking the time to look at the strengths of each generation and say, wow, what we could do if we actually work together.
Yeah. You know, the last thing that I'll say before moving on, though, and I'm not going to pick on the boomers, but it's going to seem like I'm picking on the boomers. They are probably one of the only generations that I've run across that's like, you got to do it this way. This is the way
Oh,
it's
yeah.
supposed to be done.
Yeah, for sure.
You don't do it any other way. This is the right way to do it. And it's like, really? Because we're in a pretty big mess right now, and we've been doing it your way for quite a while.
Yeah.
They say that we're skeptical as Gen X, and I think we are for a reason because we watched a lot of people that we looked up to and respected do things,
Yeah.
and they didn't turn out the way we were told they would turn out. And so, I don't know. It kind of seems like we are where we are because of that.
Yeah. I really believe that there's strength and weaknesses in all of it.
Mm-hmm.
And for Gen X, and when I look at growing up, I was told to do things by my parents, and in my situation, there was no questioning that.
Right. You did.
You just didn't. But then I guess as I got older, I'm like, I want to figure this out on my own. I'm getting tired of being told what to do for me personally. And it's like, I'm going to figure out my own thing. I don't like what I see happening, like you're saying with the boomers. I don't like what I see going on.
Right.
And I want to do something different. And
well, to your point, like there was never any explanation.
no.
I mean, you could get a butt whooping or a paddling, and you don't even know you did wrong.
Bro, you wanna know stress? Have your dad back then ask you to hold the flashlight while he does something.
Oh, yeah.
And not tell you where to put it.
Right.
You getting whooped.
Right.
Left, right. You wondering why you're even born.
I guess that's the difference for me, man. So I think I spanked my kids maybe 2 or 3 times when they were really little. Never wanted to make it a habit or anything like that. But there was always this loving explanation afterwards. And it's probably not right afterwards. I always kind of came back. So I witnessed my uncle like just spank the living tar out of one of my younger cousins. So it was one of my cousin's kids. So it was his grandchild. There was no explanation. There was no explaining what just happened. It was just, I was mad and you were in the way kind of thing.
Yep.
And honestly, I don't remember the whole scenario, but it was almost like the kid was just being a kid.
Yeah, I remember one time I was fishing with my grandfather, and you cast the line, and you're a kid.
Mm-hmm.
You're probably 7, 8 years old, maybe, and you get a bird's nest. Well, I don't remember what happened, man. He took that fishing pole and he whooped me with it.
Wow.
I was like, I don't ever want to go fishing again.
Yeah.
But, and I think what you said is important. I never disciplined my kids out of anger. I always tried to make sure. Now, they probably didn't see it that way, but, and there was always communication before and after.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Did it work? Didn't it? I have no idea.
I can tell you this much. The words I love you have been said exponentially more in my household than they ever were growing up.
Seriously.
All right. So this next video, man, this guy is great. It's Genuine Curiosity is this guy's channel. He hasn't put a whole lot of stuff up here since, but he's an inquisitive little dude. And he really, really kind of went down the Gen X aisle, but actually he went down further than that. I mean, what people forget sometimes is like Gen X was at the tail end of everything that had come before. So we
Yeah.
were still using a lot of
We
stuff
were
our
still-
grandparents used, and like,
Absolutely.
you know, the technology hadn't quite caught up to. I mean, think about the TV in the 80s versus the TV in the late or I guess the early 2000s. It was like night and day. Like, my
Yeah.
grandparents still had a CRT TV they had gotten in, like, their 35th anniversary or 25th anniversary, and they had been using that TV for 30 years.
I know. I remember when the first cell phones came out, and I got one.
The big block. Yeah. The Zach Morris cell phone.
Feeling all important.
Yeah. I mean, what's really funny is TVs were actually pieces of furniture.
Yeah.
Like, they were ornate and had, like, all that. Yeah.
Yep.
It's kind of crazy. All right, so let's take a look at this, and we'll probably stop this video a few times in here if we have something to say, but it's interesting stuff. I mean, at least people were talking and thinking about it.
Yeah.
And I think Gen Z and Gen Alpha are having some sort of epiphany right now and seeing that the world isn't quite what they may have thought it was. And welcome to the club, folks, because that's part of growing up. Here we go.
Old things. I have 7 film cameras, an NES, a rotary phone, a bunch of records.
Hello, I'm Johnny Cash.
My parents' old cassettes, a book of mechanical movements, devices, and appliances from 1907, and a phonograph. I don't know exactly how many other people in their early 20s like all this old analog stuff too, but it's definitely not zero. I've been seeing a bunch of ads recently for digital cameras that are supposed to look like film, and I've seen people online that are switching from smartphones back to flip phones because, social media just sucks. And then if you're talking about clothes, I mean, thrifting is a huge industry. I've seen so many people in my own generation whose whole personality is based on clothes and culture from like the 60s, 70s, 80s, or 90s, even the 2000s. Now, there's no one right answer for why people like the things that they do. I have my own reasons for liking old things. Other people might have their own reasons for liking old things. And this is a topic that can be talked about forever. But if you ask me why I like old things and why I think all these other younger people do too, I think the first thing I would mention is 5. The 5 senses. You got sight, hearing, smell, touch, and okay, maybe just the first 4, yeah. All this old stuff, at least when it comes to objects.
All right, so I got to say this.
Mm-hmm.
Where did this dude get all this stuff? And where did he find that TV that still works?
I'm mesmerized by the line that just goes up.
That just means you need to be standing there with rabbit ears.
Yeah, that's what it is.
But there's another thing that really I just thought about here. It's like, okay, do all Gen Z people think this way, or is this the nerd? Because we all knew, in Gen X, you could go back and watch like what Breakfast Club,
Mm-hmm.
Revenge of the Nerds.
Yep.
Like you can see the class system
Yes.
that was there. The lines seem to be very blurred nowadays when it comes to that. But I don't know, like, unless I'm wrong and unless I'm not experiencing this correctly, it seems like it's okay to be a nerd today.
Oh, yeah.
Whereas you would have been shoved in a locker and,
Absolutely.
like when we talked about like burying it deep and acting like you don't care,
Mm-hmm.
if you were a nerd, you didn't want anybody knowing you were a nerd.
Right.
I didn't wear Star Wars stuff. And the funny thing about it is everybody loves Star Wars.
Yeah.
But nobody wanted to say they love Star Wars because you'd be a nerd.
Oh, yeah.
So I don't know. I'm just kind of curious. It's like, is it just this guy that's that inquisitive about any of that old stuff?
Well, I know my one daughter, she loves the old stuff too. She
Yeah.
is she's a book person. And, she has the old typewriter, and all that stuff. Not to the extent that this gentleman does. And, but, and she would be classified more as a nerd
Yeah.
for sure.
My oldest isn't really a nerd, but loves vinyl records.
Yeah.
It's all she wants. Well, I mean, that's made a huge comeback, though.
Yeah, it has.
Like, if you have an old vinyl record collection, you're sitting on a little bit of a silver or gold mine there because you could take some of those old records back and make some money. But yeah, I don't know. That just kind of ran through my mind. It's like, is this kid? Well, we just talked about it earlier. It's like, generationally, you can't look at everybody and say this is what the whole generation looks like.
Yeah.
And so,
absolutely.
is he a one-off that really cares about any of this stuff, or do other kids care too? I don't know.
A good question too is I wonder when we started clumping the generations together. The boomers are like this. The Xers are like this. I wonder when that started.
You know what I was thinking about the other day? Who named all these generations, and who wants this to be?
Who wants this to be a thing?
Yeah, who wants? I mean, here we go, going our skeptical
I'll
road
tell you,
here.
I'm going to break out the tinfoil hat.
This is two Gen Xers sitting here going, "What's the plot? What are you trying to get out of us? What do you want?
What are you selling, bro? Because I know you're selling something.
Because I ain't buying."
But that's a good thing to dig into, man. Is when did they start naming these things, and how? You don't hear about anything before the boomers.
So there's a silent generation in there somewhere, and I don't know if that's our grandparents or what that was. I could look it up real quick. So there was the lost generation, the greatest generation, the silent generation, the baby boomers, Generation X, Millennials, Generation Z. Look, the Millennials are so important, they didn't even have to be Generation Y.
Yeah.
Generation Alpha and Generation Beta. I always thought my grandparents were the greatest generation, but I guess they were the silent generation.
Man, this is a whole lot of thinking.
Well,
for my generation,
and that's just it.
Like, this falls into the realm of I don't know that I really care. But I was just kind of wondering, like, who the hell put all of these names to this?
Somewhere I've read that like every generation where you skip. So, like Generation X, we're closer to the silent generation than we are baby boomers, like on how we react to things.
Okay.
And supposedly Generation Z is the same way as Generation X. And I don't necessarily see that correlation, except for the fact that maybe neither one of us care. They do kind of care. They care a little too much.
They do. Like they I'm trying to think.
Kind of like everything bothers them.
So I know. So millennials would be how old right now? Late 20s, 30s? Would that be millennials, or they?
I think they're older than that. I think
older than that.
Some of them are in their 40s.
Oh, that's right. Because my wife, I bust her chops telling her she's a millennial, and she says, "No, I'm an X. I'm on the border." Okay, so then Generation Z would be my kids.
Yes.
Now he's less on this than his brothers and sisters are. They care about social matters extremely, where I do not. Like, I do to a point, but I'm not spending my energy out there to do that.
So
with them, anything that they see online, if it strikes in them, man, they're on it.
Absolutely. My oldest daughter likes this one singer. This particular singer said something that ticked everybody off.
Okay.
And now she's like, I don't know if I can listen to him again. And like, she's all distraught about it. And I was like, do you know how many things Axl Rose has said to people and how many times he has caused problems? I will always listen to Guns N' Roses.
Yeah.
Maybe not cover to cover, but certain songs, it's like, maybe that's wrong. Maybe that's not the way I should look at it.
And that's where we come into the thing where it's like, I believe some of what they do is good. Like, it's important to care about what's going on out there socially. I could probably do with caring a little bit more about that. But then on the other end, some of the things that Generation X find important or focus on, they could probably benefit from a little bit of that.
Yeah.
So
Well, and I think that kind of points to what we want to talk about is, dude, we all have our problems. We all
Yeah.
have our hangups. We all have our issues. Stop picking on everybody and
For
fix
real.
your own crap.
And it also talks to something you mentioned quite a few episodes back where generations today, man, they don't talk to their parents and their grandparents to get advice or things that happened generally. I'm sure there's some that do. You know, they don't ask what life was like back then. They don't take into account some of their life experience.
But I don't think I did either.
No, we didn't.
Yeah.
And that speaks to, I think, our society where
Yeah.
other cultures, we talked about this, where the elderly, man, they're like really looked up to,
Yeah.
you know, and revered, where here we don't really put that kind of value.
It's true. Well, and maybe that's a part of putting all these labels on stuff.
It might be.
They won't understand you. They're from blah blah blah.
Yeah, because that's what we hear.
Yeah. Well, that's a Gen Xer. He ain't gonna be to that.
Yeah.
That's a Gen Z. They're too emotional. That's a.
Yeah.
It was like, okay, well, maybe we should learn.
Millennials don't want to work.
Right.
You know, you hear all that garbage that they spew out there.
Well, and it's like maybe we should learn a little bit from each and kind of maybe try to balance ourselves out a little better.
Yeah.
Because maybe there's a little bit of truth about each one of them, a positive and a negative to take away, you know.
Absolutely, man. Because like, when you look at the work ethic, right? Because I had just brought that up. You know, everybody's like, oh, millennials, you know, they don't know how to really work. They don't have a work ethic. Hold on for a second. Just because that guy is not grinding himself into the ground,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
and mutilating his body through physical labor, and he has a balance in his life, doesn't mean he doesn't have a work ethic.
So at age 15 in the summers, I was working 60 and 70 hours a
Yeah.
week, wheelbarrowing concrete and building swimming pools.
Yeah.
That was probably overkill.
And yeah, and but see, the thing is, like, we had something that we wanted to be away from,
Yeah, that's
that
true.
we poured our energy in somewhere else,
It's like I'd rather make money than have to be here.
than have to be over there dealing with that,
And shoveling crap
you
is
know.
better.
Yeah. And then now our kids are sometimes a little too comfortable with being home. And you know, but at least some of our kids don't detest us. You know, they're like, "Oh, I can't be around my parents." You know, I have a few of them who don't really enjoy spending massive amounts of time with me. And
Yeah.
whatever. That's my Gen X is like, I don't care.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll see you when you
Whatever,
want to.
punk.
I'll see you when you want to hang out. Like, you know, that's cool. You got your own life. I got mine.
Right.
But then I got other kids who are just like, they just love being around.
Yeah, and again, I think that's some personality kind of stuff.
It
there
is,
too,
yeah.
You know? So let's keep going.
All right, go ahead.
They're tactile. You can interact with them on a physical way. You know, all the clicks and dials and buttons and doohickeys, thingamabobs, whatchamacallits, whatever. And when you consider that I mostly grew up with this, it starts to make sense. Sometimes it can feel like the whole world is stuck behind glass when I'm constantly on my phone. But when I use something that's older and analog, it kind of brings me back into the real world. You know, I think human beings are kind of just built for tactile feedback. It's just the basics of how we all interact with the world, with our senses. Now, I've had older people tell me, oh, why would you want to go back and use all that old junk I was forced to use when I was growing up? Things are so much better now. You can access anything at any time, anywhere. Why would you ever want to revert back? Well, now all this unlimited information, I mean, it's absolutely fantastic, but a lot of times it feels like a monsoon. It's so much. Since you can know everything all at once, it just can be a bit much. Sometimes I feel like Ben Stiller in Night of the Museum when Attila the Hun is trying to rip him limb from limb. It's just complete decision paralysis when it comes to the endless void of the internet. But using things pre-internet, it takes me away from that. It gives my mind a break. And all these things, listening to music on vinyl, taking film photos, using a typewriter, it just calms my mind. And it takes it away from that ever-widening dark pit that the internet can sometimes be.
So what do you think about that?
There's a lot of truth to that.
Scary truth in some ways.
Yeah.
You know what fidget toys are, right?
Yeah. Yes.
All the things that he's talking about have like fidget components in them.
Mm-hmm.
Like a typewriter.
Oh, that's a really good point,
It's
man.
kind of like a fidget machine.
It is.
The
It
clacking
is.
and everything else.
It's got the little
this
buttons
soothing
and the
kind
thing
of-
that you spin and
the dial on a TV. It's like, clicks
Wow.
and stuff.
I never even thought of that, man.
But he's absolutely right. Like all the information that we have at our fingertips now, dude, it can mess with your head. Okay, so on Sundays we used to get the paper with the TV guide,
Yeah.
and there would be all these questions that people would write in about like shows and stuff, like what color shirt was Michael Knight wearing in episode 3 of Knight Rider or whatever.
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
If you had that kind of question, you had to write in somewhere and hope somebody answered.
Yeah.
Now you
Just
can
click,
figure
click,
out
click. There
anything
you
you
go.
want to figure out when you want to figure out. And it's almost like we kind of got to a point where it's like, I've got so many questions. I don't know how to ask those questions. And so you spend so much time trying to figure out what questions you even have
Yeah.
and want to have. Whereas back in the day, it's like nobody's going to answer. So I'm not
And
going to worry about it.
I know. And we got to wonder, does it affect our problem solving skills?
Oh, absolutely.
Because we no longer have to go and find the manual to a vehicle like you and I were talking about earlier.
Well, he'll get into that too.
And we don't have to figure out how to do the problem. We can hop on and just watch somebody else do it
Yeah.
and mimic what he does.
I think that's the one thing about generations that, or just humanity in general, that we should really point out is the fact that we find a way around.
Yeah.
So no matter what changes, we figure out a way
Yeah.
to still push on, especially maybe as Americans. We say these things like, yeah, that's the way it is here in America. We don't know how it is.
We don't know.
anywhere.
Bro, I ain't been anywhere
I
else.
know. Most of us haven't.
I know what they show me on the screen.
Yeah. It's like, for all we know,
Act
over
like
in
I'm-
Cambodia, they're
I'm
still
some
using.
scholar, like
Right.
traveled.
Right.
Bro, I've sat at my desk and traveled whatever the swipe takes me to.
Right. I know what they do in Brevard County. Therefore, I know what they do in all of the United States of America.
Oh my gosh.
But yeah, the whole fidget thing, like just I wonder sometimes if like the noises and the clicks and the pops and all that stuff, like white noise and stuff.
Yeah.
It's soothing.
It is, man.
This thing doesn't give you anything.
Nah,
you know,
there's a reason why people constantly talk about unplugging
yeah.
and go, because I think like he said, man, we're just
Well, it's making us anxious.
over, just too much, man.
It's almost like they put us in a pressure cooker and they're just wanting to see what happens.
It does feel like one giant social experiment, dude.
It does, man.
Like for real.
And they put labels on it. This age bracket is called
Yeah.
this science experiment.
Yeah.
The boomers, and this one is Gen X. And man, there's some other stuff to talk about, but we'll get there.
Which leads me into my next thing. My dad used to tell me stories about when he was my age, he would buy all these cool old muscle cars for cheap, He had a Camaro and a Smokey and the Bandit Trans Am, and he would swap the engine and fix up these cars right in my grandmother's driveway. And as a little kid, my mind was always blown that he could take an engine out of a car and put a new one in all just in a weekend. But then one day, he and I were walking through a field full of classic cars in a car show, the kinds that he worked on when he was my age. And I stopped and turned to a 1970s Corvette. And the hood was open, so I looked down at the engine and went, huh, it's actually pretty empty. I could actually see the ground through the engine of the car. Now, I'm not saying what my dad did all those years ago wasn't impressive, but those older cars just appear to be so much simpler to work on compared to any car I've ever owned today. If you buy a new car now, it's almost impossible to work on, but any of those older cars, I mean, you could read through the owner's manual and fully understand your vehicle. Like, I actually found an old 1970s Corvette manual online, and it literally had a section titled Engine and Engine Rebuilding, where it showed you step by step how to take the engine apart, how to put it back together again, and along the way told you exactly what everything did. In comparison, the owner's manual for my car from 2016, I mean, it's just all legal jargon. And it says if you have a problem, just take it to the dealership. Take it to the dealership. And in the same way as classic cars, any of these old cameras that I have behind me, you know, like this, or like this typewriter that I have here, I know how they work inside and out, and I can fix them if anything breaks. And it's such a nice feeling knowing that. It feels like they're fully mine.
I think that pretty much sums it up. I found it at Spencer Gifts.
Streaming services. Netflix, Spotify, Disney Plus, Peacock, all of them that are way too expensive.
We mentioned that earlier, but we really got to address that part about the manual.
Yeah.
I do believe one of the things about being American, especially the way we were founded and the way we're meant to be, was self-reliance.
Absolutely.
You had interchangeable parts that all these manufacturers had put on guns, cars. Well, I'm trying to think back at the very beginning. So like musket rifles, probably like carriages. Like I'm thinking back like in the 1800s, you know, people could fix their stuff. They could go in, get a part, fix it, and go on their way. You didn't have to go buy another Conestoga wagon to keep going across the nation. It's wild that we've gotten to a place where, like, were you much of a grease monkey?
Not much, like, but I could get under the car with my manual.
Sure.
And I could exchange the fuel pump. I could take the carburetor out. I could do what I needed to do.
So nobody in the family was really a grease monkey. Right. Or a mechanic. My dad would fix certain things. Like, I guess what people don't understand is you could have probably changed out your own carburetor. You probably could have changed out your own alternator.
Yeah. Yeah, I've done that.
Like the brakes, you could probably do your brakes.
Yep.
Changing oil was not that big a deal. So I worked early on in like the early 90s, and we had two major trucks. We had one that was late 70s model and one that was a mid 80s model.
Okay.
And the 70s model, no joke, you could pop the hood and almost get in underneath and stand next to the engine.
Wow.
In the hood, in the, engine compartment.
Yeah.
And so you could change out the spark plugs. You could pretty much work on any part of the engine you needed to work on without moving too much around.
Yeah.
Whereas today, man, if you need to change your spark plugs, they almost have to remove 30 to 40% of the parts in the engine.
Absolutely.
Just to get to the spark plugs.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's designed that way.
I had an SUV 8 years ago, and the starter went. Back then, they were going to charge me $1,500 because they literally had to remove the motor to get to the starter.
Yeah.
Which was a part you could simply change out on your own.
Yeah. And starter was what I was thinking of when I said carburetor. Okay. Yeah.
So they've purposely designed these vehicles where the average person in his garage cannot do these things anymore.
Wasn't there a law trying to be passed that you can't work on your vehicles?
Yeah, they tried. From what I understand, the major car dealerships went to the government and said, we want to pass legislature that people are not allowed to work on their own vehicles, that it would be against the law, and they would have to bring them to the dealership. And the president shot it down, thank God, but now what do? They just make the vehicles so complicated. I told my wife, I said, I've got a 2011 Dodge Ram.
Mm-hmm.
When that truck goes, or I sell it, or I give it to my son, whatever I decide to do with it, bro, I'm going back to a late 70s
Yeah.
model pickup truck. Something that I can kind of work on my own a little bit if I need to. Something uncomplicated.
I want a 71 Mustang Mach 1. Can I get one of those? So you go back to this whole dividing the generations, but then you're being charged for it too.
Yeah.
So it's like, let's keep them divided, and how much money can we make off of all of the new advancements that we're making? Maybe it's the Gen X in us, but it sure seems sinister to me. Pretty skeptical of everything I'm seeing.
For real.
Expensive and really annoying. In a lot of ways, they're great. I mean, who doesn't want everything on demand? But in recent years, they've been adding more ads and raising the prices and then adding more ads on top of that. And it's all just kind of culminating into what cable TV used to be, but in a way more expensive way. And the best part is, at any time, your favorite comfort movie? Gone. That song your parents used to sing to you when you were a little kid? Removed. You don't have control over whatever is on one of these platforms. So for me, and I think a lot of other people, it's nice to know that if I buy a vinyl record or an old VHS or DVD of a movie, no one's coming to take that away. And going back to physical objects, it's nice to know that a movie or any music you own physically exists in the world, apart from it being just some artistic concept that's somewhere out on the internet. It's actually in your possession. You can hold it. Because the internet is great, but you don't really know when things are going to change. Nostalgia, I think, is the biggest reason for all this. Because, I mean, who doesn't want to relive a happy memory you had from when you were a kid? There's pretty much an entire industry of nostalgia, especially recently with all these never-ending movie remakes and reboots being made. It's a huge reason why the phrase, what's old is new, exists. And my generation is just getting to the age where we're starting to reminisce about our childhood. But it doesn't fully explain why we seem to like things older than our own memories. And my answer to that is I think there's just something about using a thing that was part of everyday history from 50 or 100 years ago that allows you to live the same experience that the original owner of that thing would experience in a time that is now part of history. But at one time, you know, it was just life. And that's a cool feeling.
So did you own a bunch of records?
I did.
Yeah. Still have any?
Not really, no.
Dude, I had over probably 500, 600 CDs and sold them all.
Yeah.
When the MP3 showed up,
Yeah.
I ripped every one of those
Napster.
CDs. Yeah. They had these little programs. You just stick your CD in and it rips all of them,
Yeah.
puts them to MP3,
Yeah.
and then sold almost every last one of them. I think I have like 20 or 30 left. And it's like, why on earth
I don't know.
did I do that? Pretty hasty. I mean, I know a lot of boomers that still have their record collections
Yeah.
and will probably never part with them. Dude, I don't know. I thought this guy brought up some really great points. I thought it was a good depiction of
Oh, yeah.
not only what life looked like, but kind of asked, maybe brought up more questions about what the heck is going on and why everything that we watch, like, they dictate to you
They
what you
do.
can and
Yeah.
can't do at that point.
That was a point he made that I didn't quite think of that way.
Yeah.
I
Like,
didn't really like that a whole lot.
no. You ever read the book 1984? Or
I don't
remember
know
much about it?
I remember it, yeah.
Okay. So basically, it's basically the stuff that the World Economic Forum has said. Like, you'll
Yeah.
own nothing and you'll enjoy it and you'll
Yep.
do what you're told and this and that. And it's like, are they slowly walking us into the slaughterhouse,
You know,
and we're just kind of like, okay,
I'm telling you.
keep me numb and give me what I want, but don't allow me to own anything. 500, 600 CDs down to a streaming service that can be shut off
can be shut off.
anytime.
Yep.
It's kind of crazy when you think about it.
It is that it's almost as if for the technology and for the ease, it costs us something, but we don't recognize the cost when we first do it.
No, it's like what you talked about, the frog in the boiling water.
Yeah.
You're not quite sure. You know something's off. You know something's different, but you're not quite sure what it is.
And you're comfortable.
Yeah. Until
you're not.
Right. Until
And-
you're slowly cooking to death. I thought he brought up a really good point of like how angsty it is in his mind to have that much
Yeah.
information at your fingertips and stuff. And it's like, we didn't get there overnight. Do you remember when the internet first came around and it was like most of the websites were like this rinky dinky, stupid, hokey looking stuff?
Yeah.
I don't even know that most major brands even had websites yet.
No, you got this big box sitting on your desk and you're looking at it and you don't even know what to type into it.
Right.
Like, what do I search for? I don't understand.
Like, there wasn't like a Target.com or a Walmart.com or anything like that right off the bat. It was more like, I don't know, a search engine for like randomness.
Yeah.
Like AOL and stuff kind of had its own platform where it had like its own chat rooms and its own articles and stuff like that. But it wasn't like this mass conglomerate that everyone had a website, you know.
Not at all.
That came fairly quick though.
Yeah, it did.
You know,
once it caught on, man, it just
within probably 3 to 5 years, I would say, maybe closer to 5 to 7 years, but once it became known that okay, this is a way to make commerce. You know, once they figured out a way to make money off of it, which seems to always be the case. Where's the money to be had?
That's yeah.
So you and I are Gen X parents. It kind of seems relevant to listen to what one Gen Z dude has to say about having Gen X parents. I'd be curious to know in the comments what any Gen Z kids might think about their Gen X parents.
Yeah.
Or what Gen X parents, you know, deal with their Gen Z kids. For both of us, this is about trying to find common ground. This is not about beating each other up.
Yeah.
So in the comments, try to be civil with
constructive.
One another. Right. I'd love to hear more about what other people have to say because, again, the experiences of everybody else may not be the same. And I think that's where this becomes a problem when you start lumping everybody together.
Absolutely.
So I was raised by Gen X, and being raised by Gen X is sort of like being raised by an older sibling who loves sarcasm and somehow made Fight Club a part of your moral education. So for me, when I was a kid, my parents weren't in their 40s, they weren't in their 50s. Like I have friends with boomer parents. My parents were really, really young, so like they basically raised me on.
Can I just stop real quick? Does that not feel right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, I almost feel like an older sibling to my kids than I actually do a parent.
Man, I think how old was I? I was 21 when we had my first daughter.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
I was 30. I was 30 until we had kids, and I still feel that way. And like this guy was saying, his parents are younger, but I don't know. I don't know what the disconnect is, but I feel like an older brother more than I do a dad. That was a great way to put that.
Yeah.
So anyway, I just wanted to say that.
Simpsons, South Park, grunge music, and they didn't really they said follow your dreams, but not in the same way that they did in school and the greater pop culture was at the time when I was 4 or 5. And I remember I'd put on Nevermind, the album by Nirvana, or I'd listen to Blood Sugar Sex Magic by the Red Hot Chili Peppers, or even Dookie by Green Day. And the reaction I got from my mom wasn't, oh God, you're listening to that punk music, that's terrible for you. But it was more, oh, I remember when I was your age. I remember when I was like 20, 23, putting that stuff on the putting that VHS on my in my car or something, and I would like listen to the music with my mom, and she would talk to me about the disillusionment of her generation. And one of the reasons I actually made the Gen X video on my main channel is because my mom would always tell me growing up, she's like, oh my God, Tantris, like, Gen Z is just Gen X all over again. It's terrible, like the boomers screw you guys over too. And it was interesting because I was raised with like a Daria kind of cynicism. And Gen X rightfully gets its criticisms, but it's just a different flavor of an older generation raising the new kids on the block. So with the boomer parents, they're like faith in the system, their faith in like reading everything from like The Atlantic to watching CNN. My parents, like from a very young age.
Dude, that is so true.
Yeah.
Like even during 2020, anything that came out of that TV screen,
Yeah.
I feel like the boomers believed.
And I think that stems from there used to be a time when you could trust what came across on the news.
That's a good point.
And I just heard this thing, and I don't know. Don't take this as gospel, but check it out. Obama got rid of a law that held news
You're right.
corporations accountable if they spread something that wasn't true. And he rejected that, got rid of it, and wiped it away. Now it's no longer the case. And now here we are, not knowing if we can trust what's coming across the news screen or not. And that's because there's no oversight. There's no accountability. They can just say and do what they want. And the people that are pouring the money into these news corporations are actually dictating what is coming across our screens.
Well, and the name Obama comes up, but I can guarantee you that every politician was on board. So during Obama's presidency,
yes,
okay,
is when that kind of took place.
Yeah, so not necessarily Obama attached
wasn't
to
necessarily
it, but the
him. I don't know.
administration.
Yeah, I don't know
the
if it was
administration
him.
and the Congress at the time.
Normally, that stuff is set up in administrations prior, and then the triggers finally pulled on.
That's true. That's true.
At least that's my understanding.
And you ever notice how they all hang out with one another after they've been president?
Oh, they hate each other, but then when they're in front of the cameras, then afterwards they're all going to the same parties.
Yeah. It was Bush's fault for everything, but he and him now play golf together and eat caviar and watch you all suffer.
Yeah.
So, I thought all that was really kind of interesting. The other thing that's interesting to me is how generations kind of shift and sway even within themselves. He was talking about the mom listening to his music and being like, oh, yeah, I remember that, blah, blah, blah. Well, think about the boomers. The boomers went from just look at the Beatles.
Yeah.
When the Beatles first started, they were clean cut. They were, kind of popsy and folksy.
Yeah.
And next thing you know, the late 60s show up and the Beatles are looking like some scruffy dudes that had tried a few extracurricular things to get where they were. And so the music of the beginning of the baby boom versus the music at the end were completely different.
Yeah.
And so there was a huge shift in there even. So like my parents didn't understand anything about 70s rock, 80s heavy metal, blah, blah, blah. Whereas my wife's father was a later boomer. And so he was like a Pink Floyd guy.
Okay.
And so he gets it. He understood it.
Yeah.
And it was like there was this 3 or 4 year window between them. He's younger than my parents.
Right.
Any of them above that don't understand. And any of them below it are like rock.
Okay.
Yeah. Or even kind of like potheads. Like even the baby boomer generation, like the beginning part of that, they were like straight laced, man. There ain't none of that. And then the hippie movement hits.
Yeah.
And so there's a divide even within that generation. That's what I'm trying to get at. It's like, just because it's the same generation doesn't mean it.
You can't clump them all together.
Right. that goes with any generation, I
Absolutely.
think. It's just kind of nonsense to even go down some of these rabbit holes and just be like, oh, they're that, they're that, they're that.
And I think that's the kind of point. One of the points we're trying to make is that don't buy into the labels that
Right.
everybody puts on people, because
Give everybody a shot.
man, they don't always fit.
Ask questions and have conversations. Like, get to know one another. Don't
Absolutely,
write
man.
each other off so quickly. It's just weird to me.
CNN, my parents, like from a very young age, where like if people are trying to sell you something, like be very skeptical of that. And it was always really cool to also share like technological moments with my parents. Like my dad, for example, grew up in the late 80s and the early 90s, and he would play NES and SNES, and he would tell me cool stories of playing those old arcade games, like I think it was called like Golden Axe or something. And he'd talk about how when he was playing Metroid on the NES back in like 1987 or 1988, he would just be alone in his room on the old crap like CTR, or is it CRT television, enjoying his alone time. Whereas like, boomers didn't have video games. They were raised on like Leave It to Beaver and records from the 60s. And Gen X definitely had like their records too, but there was like MTV and a very like specific pop culture that I don't know. I took for granted, and then growing up, I started noticing in my friends that there was just like a different cultural vibe their parents had, which my parents just definitely didn't. Like the American dream is still very much alive. You can still go to college and be successful. And with my parents, they would always be like, you probably should do that, but don't be surprised if you're not rich. Just survive. And it was like a realism that they kind of embodied, and I don't know, the whole atmosphere that my mom's friends and my dad's friends kind of gave off was like, yeah, things are a little screwed. We definitely did not have as well as our parents, but we're still gonna have a good time. And maybe part of that is because Gen X didn't have it quite as insane as Gen Z or even like the Millennials did. But my thesis is the Millennials were more coddled than Gen Z was, or at least more coddled than Gen Z was, because the Gen Xers had their cynicism and they passed that on to many of the Zoomers. And this is actually one of the ways I think I have a lot in common with like really young Zoomers, despite being like an older Zoomer, is that young Zoomers definitely have more Gen X parents. The whole cynicism, the whole like things are screwed, and then raised with like technologically proficient moms and dads. But my childhood soundtrack was basically like Nirvana, not nursery rhymes, and it was just really strange because like there was no prosperity promised to me directly from my family and directly from the people around me. I only heard that in school or in the textbooks that we had when we like the mid 2000s, which were probably still somewhat used in the 90s. Just really like hard to get my head around it. But like the boomer parents that I know, like there's just there's an attachment to the media, an attachment to the message, or the boomer truth regime, as AA calls it, that just Gen Xers never really had. And I'm not calling Gen Xers geniuses by any means, but rather it's just there was never really anything to rebel against with the Gen Xers, because once I started doing it, my parents were like, yeah, we get it, and that's why I think like a lot of the messages like Fight Club, Nirvana, and South Park, all of that is still very like still resonates with young Zoomers, because there was just like.
So, dude, like, I gotta talk about that real quick. When they talk about rebellion, we're just kind of like, yeah, I get it. It almost probably worked counterintuitively for them, because we were like, I understand. Let me tell you why I understand.
Yeah.
And then maybe we found common ground. I don't know.
I don't know, man. I know. I look at it and like we had certain rules that I was extremely structured, more than I probably should have been with our kids. My thing was, you're not going to do drugs. You're not getting tattoos till you get out of high school. And that was it.
That's extremely structured.
Well, for them, those were the two things that my kids wanted to rebel on. Okay, I mean, you talk extremely structured. It was. I have been referred to. I don't know if I've been referred to as. Probably not going to say that, but I've had a friend refer to me as a Nazi
because of those two things.
No, because like I didn't let my kids sleep over other people's houses. I did, all of the things because of what I grew up in.
So
I protected them, but other people viewed that as extreme. The fact that I put my kids in bed at 8 o'clock, 7 o'clock.
Well, we haven't been real great with the bedtime.
Didn't care if it was summertime or not. Like if the sun's up and it's 7, you're going to bed.
Yeah.
Like, structure was you came home from school, you're doing your homework, then you can have a snack.
Did you stay over at a lot of people's houses growing up?
No.
Okay, you didn't.
No.
So I did.
I had one friend that every once in a while I would go over there.
Okay. So, I said I did, but that's probably not true. There was 2 or 3 friends that I would stay at their houses often. 2 of those a lot. But what I was getting at is we haven't let our kids stay over at a lot of people's houses. And I referred to this in that last episode I did. I think a lot of things happened to Gen Xers.
Mm-hmm.
There was a lot of stuff that happened.
Yeah.
We buried it, didn't talk about it, and moved on. I think a lot of us now are starting to speak up or say something or come to this place where, holy crap, why am I the way I am? And you think back to a certain thing and you're like, wow, that really changed me.
Yeah, and that's the thing is like my kids don't understand what it means for me to be in survival mode.
Mm-hmm.
They equate it with some of the things they go through.
Yeah.
My life is jacked inside my head. Like it doesn't function normally. And it's a miracle that I'm able to hyper focus on certain things. Like I was able to hyper focus on being a parent and being able to take care of my kids when I was a single dad.
Yeah.
Like that's a miracle that I was able to do that. It's like the generational thing. Like, every generation looks at themselves as if, wow, we've really been through it.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not going to take that away from anybody because like you said, everybody's life is different.
But see, did you ever feel that way?
No.
That's it. I didn't either. I saw World War II in Vietnam and knew, sure, we had the Persian Gulf or whatever, the Iraq War, but I never felt like, oh, we've got it so much worse than everybody else.
Looked at my
and we
life.
didn't have it easy.
Yeah, and I just assumed that, well, everybody's life is like mine.
Yeah.
So I just didn't talk about it.
No, yeah.
Not
like
to
I totally
mention
thought life is tough.
Yeah.
I'm figuring it out just like everybody else has had to do.
Not to mention you're told what happens behind our doors, stay behind our doors.
Yeah.
And so you don't talk about it.
My grandparents didn't talk about stuff.
Yeah. But now it's like the whole thing is communicate and talk and get your feelings out. And I don't want to get my feelings out.
Yeah.
Well,
I think there is a balance. I think there are certain things that we probably do need to talk about.
Yeah.
But not everything.
But yeah, everybody looks at, oh, my life was harder than yours. Shut up. Because I don't know what you've been through.
Right.
You don't know what I've been through. You don't know how I processed what I've been through versus what you, like, my God, can't we just say, yeah, bro, life sucked for a while and we made it.
Well, and at some point, maybe ask yourself, what have I learned in the process and what can I apply and who can I help?
Nobody's going to get a badge, shittiest life.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like,
right.
Let's get a trophy, Hardest life lived. Here's your trophy, my friend.
Right. All right, we'll wrap this up. But no, this kid makes some really good points.
Yeah,
I really kind of like listening to him, and he kind of makes us Gen Xers look better than some of these other ones do too. So, especially the first woman that basically claimed that we're the worst or whatever.
Yeah, I know.
All right.
The planted seeds of that cynicism started with that generation. Slightly kind of, had less of a less of an impact with millennials due to their boomer parents, and then Gen Z with, you know, a large amount of Gen X parents just like adopted that, and it grew into its own thing. But I don't know, for any other Zoomers watching this, how old were your parents, you know, when you were born? Like I said, my parents were early 20s, and, you know, very much in the middle of the Gen X movement. And I don't want to say I'm proud of that. It's just a very unique experience that I think I need to expand on more in future videos, because we're always talking about boomers, or, you know, the millennials are considered uncool, or like the Zoomers are still technically leading the youth culture, even though Gen Alpha is basically like going to replace us sometime soon. And then Xers, and I know there's always that Xer in the comments like, nobody gives a shit about Gen X, no one talks about Gen X. It's like, yeah, we all know there's like 100 of you to remind us, just to be, you know, funny about it. But it's true, you know, no one talks about Gen X quite as much as the other generations. And I'd like to, you know, bring it up a little bit more from the perspective of somebody who isn't Gen X but was raised by them. But that's about all. So, cheers.
I thought that guy did a really good job of kind of maybe spelling out what it might be like for most people that have a Gen X parent.
Yeah.
I'll tell you this much, man. So we've got this conversation's all around, like, you know, boomers, Gen X, millennial, and Gen Z. The next generation coming, Gen Alpha.
Yeah.
I got 2 Gen Alpha boys. They are us. They are balls to the wall, tear each other down, and just better survive. And it kind of warms my heart a little bit.
I've got a young nephew, same type of thing. He's a young kid, man, and I'm telling you, he is 100%.
Yeah.
100%.
It's like I can't remember if it was this video or another video where the person was like, yeah, Gen Z's a lot like Gen X, and it's like, it doesn't seem that way.
No. Maybe in different ways, but
maybe some of the same struggles and some of the same things going on. Maybe they ask some of the same questions we did.
Yeah.
But we kind of came to the conclusion that it was like, screw everybody. We'll make it on our own. There was some self-reliance, I guess, involved.
Yeah, I mean, you know what's funny is, so when we were in high school, right? You always do like the senior class trip.
Mm-hmm.
Every class before us was able to pick where they wanted to go. Our class could not agree on it, so we did not have a class trip.
Wow.
Only class in the history of the high school.
I thought you were going to say that the first 3 years before our senior year, we were so bad they wouldn't let us go on one.
No, they could not agree on it, man. Only class in the history of that high school.
I think there's a certain amount of nostalgia that comes with us being able to talk about this and just maybe look back and see a little bit of where we came from. But I think it would be very Gen X of me and you to say, does it really matter?
Does it really matter? You know, you look at it and you hope that, you know, whoever watches this, and for me and you, that try not to look at our kids through the lens of a label somebody else puts on them.
Yeah, and I don't.
Yeah.
I didn't really know that they were Gen Z or this or that, and I didn't really know what a millennial was until a few years ago, to be honest.
Yeah, I know.
What does that say about me? I guess, is that me being Gen X that just doesn't
don't
care?
Just like,
or and so that's where this whole generational thing comes in. So it's like, okay, maybe am I being generational in my thinking, or is it just me personally that thinks this way?
Got so many other things that I gotta.
It seems very trivial, doesn't it?
You know, yeah.
Yeah. And I guess that's maybe what it was. It's like, if this is what everybody's talking about, then I guess there's no major concerns in the world, because this doesn't seem important. So what do you guys think? Is there actually a generational war going on? What generation are you in? What generation are your parents in? How do those relationships work? I mean, there's so many questions we could ask.
Do you think we're part of a social experiment with all these labels?
Yeah.
And being told what to think about each other and what not to?
Are we just a couple old generation
Are we
Xers
just-
that have no idea what we're talking about?
Should we just be sitting in our rocking chairs,
Right.
bitching to one another?
Like the two old guys from the Muppet Show.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that's great.
Oh, yeah.
That's who we are.
All right. Well, hopefully we can figure out ways to be a little kinder to one another and have a little more tolerance and patience and humility with whatever generation it is we're dealing with. I don't have much more to say this week. Do you, Bruce?
No, that's it, my friend.
Well, here's the good thing. You and I are back together now for as many weeks as possible.
There
but
we go.
it looks like our summers and our schedules have cleared up quite a bit to get back to this
All
weekly
right.
routine. So,
Good deal.
all righty, guys. You guys have a great week, and we'll catch you on the flip.
All right, have a good one.